Let's go. Alright, so first thing first, I like that you're trying not to play near your teammates. Just keep in mind that like while you're healing these people, this is not actually like your shield. So just try and like heal from places where you can't get shot at. So like the most common angles in this map are through here, right? Which would see you if you're walking back and forth there. And here, right? Which will see you, which can't see you at all, right? So if that's the case, it's okay to like either slide this way to like just straight up jump across and to like get out of like this LOS or get out of this LOS. So you can only kind of play one, but you need to kind of pick whichever one's more dangerous at the moment. So at the moment, you know a lot of people are on the right side. So it's a little scary because if for some reason one of their hit scans was there, he could shoot you. So it would be okay to like just jump across and like land here, right? Your hog will probably be okay on his own. If like he does get gone on, like your mercy beam is probably not going to save him. So yeah, yeah. This is good. Generally speaking, when there's a fire in the game, it's your job to keep the fire topped off. So it's good that you prioritize this. Let your Moira like handle everything else more or less, unless like you need to heal the Moira, for example. Like your primary responsibility is first to your Pharah, then to your other healer, and then other people when it's convenient, right? So this is good focus. So be really careful at shifting when your Pharah is underneath you. Generally speaking, what you want to do is you want to gain height from your Pharah to maintain like air time, because once you're on the ground, you like you don't have as much mobility options, right? You can't control your rate of falling. You can't like go up and down, etc., etc. So generally speaking, instead of like dashing at the Pharah on cooldown, like if you're chilling with your Pharah, right? Like let's go back half a second. So if you're chilling with your Pharah here, like just let yourself drift and like land on the high ground maybe, right? And then, or if you really want to gain altitude, you can like drop beneath her, and then go back up, right? So generally speaking, you want to use shift to go back up, and you don't have to if you don't want to use shift if you don't have to use shift, right? So if you're hanging out here, you can play on this spot, and you're completely safe from everything, right? The only thing that can potentially shoot you is over here, and it's very dangerous for a long range hit scan to play this angle to try and shoot you, because that exposes them to your hog, right? So your hog's doing a good job contesting pillars, so as a result, you cannot play like the very conservative angle, and you can heal your Pharah, you can jiggle peeker, right? You can heal people on point if needed. And if needed, absolutely necessary, you can use the either like super jump tech to like go down to one someone and then come back up, or your Pharah and do it. You can do it on Pharah when she's in there as well. You just need to be on like on the ground when you super jump, and it to start off. Or if your Pharah's up in the sky, you can fly up to her and then past her, and then that will let you get enough altitude that you'll be really really safe, right? Barring like some hit scan. Of course, there's no hit scan in this game, so you're literally free to do whatever you want. But generally speaking, these are good habits to have. The shift down is like really risky because it just puts you down with your teammates as opposed to like elevated above them where you can't be shot. So I think you have toggle to Guardian Angel prefers beam target off. That's fine. Generally speaking, the more you play with Pharahs as Mercy, the more you want the better it is to have it Guardian Angel prefers beam target on, because that way you can like fly to your Pharah without looking at your Pharah all the time, and you don't want to spend all your time looking at the Pharah. You want to spend your time looking at everything else generally. So in this case, like instead of like if you looked at a teammate and press shift, you won't fly toward the teammate. You'll fly towards your Pharah and you'll fly up, right? Whether or not you're looking at your teammate. It does take a while to get used to if you do this. It ends up being a matter of more personal preference, just because like how you use Guardian Angel is Guardian Angel is a button you use all the time, and how you use it determines like a lot. So people like tend to just pick one or the other. But that said, if you're going to keep it, Guardian Angel prefers beam target off, then you need to make sure you fly towards your Pharah here and not at the teammate like that is level with you, right? So go back a bit. You're gonna fly it like your Rissa or something, or whoever's over there. I don't know who's over there. Like so, right here, you're not looking at your Pharah, so when you dash, you dash at your Symmetra instead of up, right? Do you see the difference? And now, like if for example this was a Roadhog and that instead of an Orisa, you might just be dead, right? So just be really careful about this. Oh, I forgot to talk about the benefits of having it off. The benefits of having it off is you can fly someone while still like keeping your beam on them, right? So for example, if I'm healing, if I dash to a guy over here, I'm healing him, and I want to go help someone on point, I can start dashing before I finish healing this guy because I can keep my beam on him while I'm flying away, right? And that's 3 seconds of healing someone while you're moving, which is really valuable. You can kind of do the same with Guardian Angel prefers beam target off, but it's a bit more messy, right? You have to like, in order to do that, you have to like, you have to look at this guy. You have to disconnect your beam just by like letting go or whatever. That's not too difficult. Then you have to fly, and as you start your fly, you turn around, you reconnect the beam, and then turn back and do whatever you want, right? But it definitely adds like a lot of 180, which a lot of mercies just don't do, even when like they do have this setting on. So. Yeah, so there is upside to having the Guardian Angel prefers beam target off, which is why it gets used, right? Like, there's trade-offs to both sides. I personally prefer having it on because when I play Mercy, it's pretty much always with a Pharmacy. But yeah, you can do whatever you want, really. Just make sure that, like, you understand the trade-offs.
I am on fire.
Don't count me out.
You have my thanks.
Operating at maximum efficiency.
I'm taking care of you.
Contact. Clearing the area.
Also, by the way, if you speaking of Mercy settings, okay, let me just. So for here, wait, when did I set this to 20 for 20? What the heck? Okay, anyways, so generally speaking, you're gonna want to have toggle beam connection off, mostly because it's way easier to disconnect a beam. In situations where you need to hide, like say there's a Junkrat tire, you're connected to someone, you want to hide, you need to like if you need to disconnect the beam quickly, you just let go of the button. It's a lot easier, right? I understand though if you have like wrist problems or stuff like that, that you can leave this off on, so that way you can just press the button once, you don't have to hold it all the time. But just something to keep in mind. This is the Guardian Angel's preferred beam target setting I was talking about, and then for toggle Guardian Angel, you want this off 100%. It gives you it's just way easier to use. Because it may take some getting used to. When I first turned this off, I fell off the map a couple of times trying to cross gaps. What it does is it makes it so that you have to hold down shift the entire time that you want to use it, right? But it gives you a lot more control over when you stop using it, right? And also makes it so there's two main benefits. One, it gives you a lot more control over like when exactly you stop using Guardian Angel, right? So there's a lot of times we talk about micro hopping, right? So instead of like dashing all the way to the teammate, we just like click the button, tap it basically, and just do a short hop forward to maintain like spacing, right? So we're into 15-meter range to maintain beam, and then we hop out of 15-meter range, and then we just go back and forth, right? It's just a little bit easier in certain cases, and the second main benefit is that if I'm like desperate to try to find a way to get out, I can spin my mouse around while holding shift, and the instant like I can fly to somebody, it'll let me fly to them. Whereas with toggle, you have to mash the button a bunch of times because it won't work unless like you're actually looking at something that you can fly to and then press shift. And while you're mashing the button, it's very easy to accidentally cancel it again by pressing it twice. So just keep it in mind. So this is something you almost always want off. Toggle Guardian Angel. It may take a while to get used to, but I'm sure you can figure it out. So if your fire's getting run at, like don't just play here. This is kind of minor, but just about like understanding threat, right? So if you look at this Reaper, you don't need to be here, by the way. You can just sit like here, right? And your fire's realistically not going to escape you. Another benefit to sorry. So if you have Guardian Angel prefers beam target on, it lets you fly around corners to some degree as long as you have the beam still connected. So the thing is like normal Guardian Angel requires line of sight, but if you have the beam connected, you can fly around corners because it'll try to fly towards the beam target even if they're non-LOS, because that's how it works. So it gives you 2 to 3 seconds of leeway with corners and like cliffs and stuff like that, ledges and stuff. But yeah. But you generally don't want to see the enemy team as Mercy like at all. So if you're here and you're looking at them, you're doing something wrong. So what ends up happening here is you see this Reaper. So you're walking too close to your teammate, right? This is not ideal spacing. You want to be like here. And second, like if your guy is getting shot at, you don't want to like walk towards the enemy team. You want to walk away from the team. You kind of want to use your teammate as a shield, right? So if your teammate's backing up, you want to be backing up too, right? You just want to kind of mirror their movement and always maintaining that spacing whenever possible.
I will not wait. Healing stream engaged.
Rocket barrage incoming.
So this is a situation where you can actually make a big play by flying into your Pharah in body blocking shots. But if you let the Pharah die, I also don't care. This is kind of a suicide play by her, so. She might live, but yeah. You can, in theory, help maintain her survivability. Like, you can potentially keep her alive, but, like, it's not a big deal if you don't.
We make a great team.
She lived. She's a champ.
You needed a doctor? My ultimate ability is we still need you. I am operating at peak performance levels.
Yes, follow your Pharah. Got a little bit separated, but...
Damage increase.
Thanks for the assist.
Right done.
Girls overboard.
Let me get you patched up.
How's my tank?
Damage boost engaged.
Situations like this is okay to just pop Valk if you're not like if you're ever in a situation as Mercy where your survivability is now under threat and you're not really sure whether or not like you're safe, just pop Valk and be safe, right? So like here, there's a lot of stuff going on. You know a Reaper's trying to shoot at you. You don't know how close he is necessarily. You don't know like how many shots he has. You don't know like how close he is to you and how much burst he's going to do in his next shot. In these cases like this, it's okay to just pop Valk and just like start using like the skybox and like different areas of props as like cover, and just use your absurd beam range to just be really safe.
You needed a doctor? Right beside you.
This.
Damage amplified. I will not waste this opportunity.
Okay, so in situations by the way when you're playing by the spawn like this, be really careful about sniper swaps, especially Widow. So, or just hit scan swaps in general. So, when you're flying around like this, just every time you fly, like you should be like in situations where you're not really where you have a little bit of time, just like a little bit, press tab and check for sniper swap, right? Especially when the DPS are respawning. And B, every time you fly to your Pharah, do like a quick flick and check their spawn door and see if there's a Widow. If you see a Widow, you can immediately just stop your fly, drop, and it'll probably mess up their shot and buy you time. And you can eventually like get over a piece of cover, drop, maybe Valk, and start playing underneath even, and still like using your beam range to heal your Pharah, etc. But just be really careful at Widow swaps.
Rocket barrage
Oh my
incoming.
god, the second barrage. There you go, just Valk to guarantee your own safety.
Find their weakness and claim
You needed a doctor? Thank you.
So while you're healing this guy, like, you're not going to die, right? So while you're healing this guy, just turn around and make sure you can see your Pharah, right? Because you don't necessarily know if your Pharah is being shot at again. You're healing the Moira. Your Moira doesn't appear to be in any danger, but again, like, there's nothing to look at over here, right? There's nothing here, right? You know roughly when your teammates are going to be back. You know there's no enemies, so just when you start healing your Moira, you can keep flying this way, but turn around and and look at the other way, because that's where the info is going to come from. Like, you can even look through this glass, you can see roughly what they're doing and where they are, right? It gives you a lot of information.
Thank you.
One of the biggest strengths of Mercy is you don't actually have to look at anything you're doing. You just have to look at it occasionally, right? So the big power of Mercy is that like you can just collect info, right? You can just scout and do anything you want. Just look around the map, make sure you can look for flankers, right? Flankers are usually not going to blow you up in terms of like if you see them, if they will kill you. Like not like snipers. Obviously, they're snipers, hard LOS, right? But you can still check flanks, right?
Thanks for the assist.
Let's get you back out there.
Fly away. Oh, you get caught. Nice. Alright, so this is one of the situations where you need to be really careful not to overshoot the fly, right? So, you landed here in front of your Zarya, right? Let's go back a little bit. So just like, look where this fly goes, right? So, everybody's kind of in trouble. There's a Sigil. You're healing your Pharah, this is fine. You're running away, this is also fine. When they land, understand that, like, it doesn't really matter, like, your Zarya is kind of in danger, but your priority is always your Pharah, just FYI. I don't remember... Yeah, so your Zarya gets... So, in this case, you should probably fly towards your Pharah, and then like cut the beam off, like, or cut the fly off like around here, right, and then go off the edge slightly, so that way you can like use some range. And as you fall, wait for your cooldown, and then you can fly up, and now you get height, and you'll be safe, right? So you kind of want to chain flies, and the first one to like get you closer and like somewhere safe, and the second one to like, and as you fall, then you can use your second one to get you up. And you can always counter your Pharah to LOS you, right? And this is situations where Guardian Angel prefers beam target on is good, because even if she does LOS you, as long as you have the beam connected, you'll get it back for your cooldown, and then you can just fly back up anyways, right? Anyways, regardless of what is the correct path here, this is mechanically not very good on the Zarya, right? Because if you look at it, you've already connected the beam. This is relatively safe. You should just stop the fly like here, right, on the stairs, and just start backing out, right? Because you don't want to be anywhere close to the fight, because your hero isn't good at that, right? But if you look at where you end up flying, you're actually in front of the Zarya now, and if they were shooting the Zarya and they had bad aim, they would actually be shooting you, right? Because like this Orisa has a projectile gun, right? So she's trying to shoot the Orisa, or trying to shoot the Zarya. She might like be shooting at the Zarya instead of in front of the Zarya, and she might hit you in the process. And right, you just never want to take incidental damage as the Mercy. Anyways, unfortunate. Grab Guardian. Yeah. So in situations where there's a tire, just hide. Don't reveal yourself at all. Like just hide in here. Disconnect your beam. Just try not to have any presence, right? And then when the tire drives by you or blows up, then you fly out and do what you need to, right? You're a brave lad. Okay.
Team kill.
I must go where I'm needed.
Alright, that's unfortunate. I'll watch one more. You could have just had a Reaper show up and you weren't ready for it.
Speedy recovery.
Okay, this is unnecessary peeking. You kind of don't need to do this. Just wait for your Pharah. Your hero kind of just doesn't do anything like individually. You kind of want to wait for team. Also, remember, I know this Reaper's got a Reaper on him, so you should help him. But initially, you always want to look for your Pharah, and your Pharah's all the way over here. So like, instead of like peeking around this and getting in trouble and panicking and running back in, and then connecting to your Zarya, just stay here and wait for your Pharah. And this way, you won't bait your Zarya in. And this way, you also will be ready to catch your Pharah when she comes out, right?
Healing stream engaged. I'm here.
This is good. You're in elevated position. So the goal now is to stay here.
Move back.
Your Pharah's drifted to the left, so now you no longer want to stay here. So it's okay to fly over here and play here, right? And this is also safe because they're all on point, right? And your Roadhog's pushing pillars, so anyone who's on pillars who might be a threat, you at least have a bodyguard for that can buy you time until you fly away, right?
Let's get you back out there.
This is also okay, but again, you want to fly away from the enemy team, right? So in a case like this, you either want to get directly above them, where you're relatively safe because it's hard to aim straight up, or you fly like towards the Pharah and then like slingshot past to like play like the far side, right? So that you're away from them, right? Those are your two options mainly. Or you can just kind of drift back over here. That's also an option. Like just take the high ground again, depending on like how the range works out. All right. So if you're holding W and space and you're flying right out of Pharah, you're actually making it more difficult for yourself to aim, right? So if you just like aim the beam, because you just need to like get them on your screen really at the center as you click, right? So while you're doing this, just kind of just fly up and away because you want to get to cover, right? So you want to like fly over here, for example, or over here, somewhere where you can get a good view, but that also gives you options in case you get attacked, right? And preferably also LOS as snipers, right? So if you click here, you're safe from the sniper on left. If you're over here, you're safe from the sniper on the right. So wherever you think the sniper is more likely to be, in this case there is no sniper, so you can pick whichever side you want. But you still want to take an elevated high ground, like safe position that gives you like vision. And then from there, that gives you a much better idea whether you need to be using blue beam or heal beam, right? So this entire time you should have been blue beaming, but you have no idea because you couldn't see anything, right? So we start when you started your bout. There was like maybe like 2 seconds where you should have been dealing with this. So you see somebody critical in there, right? So that's someone you should try to heal beam. But she's dead now, right? Now that she's dead, It's just straight red beam all the way. Because you look at your team, everybody's basically full health. This like missing 200 health on the hog doesn't matter, right? Just go blue beam, make sure everybody's damage boosted as much as possible, and just go kill them. And when you get an opportunity, go for the rest.
Securing the objective. The battle continues. I am operating at peak performance levels.
All right. So in conclusion, biggest things, playing using the Guardian Angel to get to cover, not overshooting the Guardian Angel, and finding opportunities to get. In this case, I don't think last time we had a Pharah with the water view, so this is kind of nice. Oh god. All right. So with Pharah, one thing you can do is like you never want to go down when you're Guardian Angeling towards the Pharah. So what you do is like you let yourself drop, like drift underneath them, and then you fly up. And that's generally how you get where you want to go, right? Yeah. I think that's the core things. If I forgot anything, I don't remember. By definition. So yeah. Just rewatch it if you feel like I may have forgot something to recap. But yeah. There we go.